we're about to listen to some amazing Mariah Carey. Okay. I know it's not necessarily, these notes aren't about her singing. I just want to talk about the instrumentation for the aesthetic. So I don't know what that big pow is. I think that could be like a leftover 80s aesthetic. But listen to the bass. It's very kind of funky, as in like funk, the genre of music. And the guitarist is using nylon strings, which has a very, very specific sound. God, she's just so good at just landing right on the beat. I love this bass. The 90s give a lot of attention to bass as an instrument, bass guitar. And that, right? That's like a pop, so slapping pop. And this is just, I think this is actually to Mariah's credit, because for the most part, she writes her own arrangements and songs, right? So there's just, I don't know, she's just really good at every element of making music. Like her overdubs are crazy, her technique is out of this world, and like her musicianship and arranging skills I don't think got enough attention, so I just want to shout out to that. Baby, look where we've come. So it's interesting, the vowel changes that she's making over the entirety of the concert are it's really, really interesting. Look at how pursed her lips are. So it's actually hard to tell. Let me increase the size so y'all can see it. Like, look at this pursed lips. Whoops. Yeah. And so that has a very specific effect. It's very, very important. I'm gonna see. There we go. That has a very specific effect. It rounds out the tone and makes these specifically these low notes much more lush. I mean, she's right up on that mic. And so the pursing of the lips, hold on, we'll go to the spectrogram for this one. Factors here, right? There's the proximity, there's going close to the mic, and then there's pursing the lips. So if I do the opposite, which is bright and far away, if I do that, oops, yeah, if I do that and then I come a little bit closer, right? You see how this is way, way, way louder in the lows than this, right? The brightness is how you know the volume of these frequencies. So doing the proximity effect, which is getting close to the mic, and pursing your lips really, really increases the amount of lower frequencies that are present. So that's cool. I don't wanna cry, and nothing in the world could take us back. The way she's starting these belts, right? This. So the way that you get that, it's just like a small fry, and you have to be very, very, very gentle. And so because this happens because as you blow air through the folds, that's what makes them come together. It's called the Bernoulli effect. So if you want to have this like little, right, that little sound, you have to very gradually increase your air so that the folds kind of get like a little bit closer over a very slow period of time. Aspirate graduals are something I think that every singer should train because it's a very good exercise for training breath. But what's more impressive to me is that she does an aspirate gradual and then immediately tilts her cricoid cartilage, the base of the cartilage at the base of the larynx. And then those folds become super fat and thick. And she does this very quickly. Right? And you might not think of that as a very powerful belt. It's not, but it's still a belt. So what Mariah is so incredibly good at is adjusting the thickness of her folds and everything, actually quite everything. So the aspirate gradual, if she went into full cricoid cartilage tilt and made it a dramatic belt, it would have been very, very, it would have been an interesting choice, very difficult choice. But she has all of that range of motion with belt. So if you want to do a belty straight tone thing, you can just tilt the cricoid cartilage a little bit. And that's what you get when you get this kind of sound. I don't wanna cry. I don't wanna cry. And then she starts untilting the cricoid cartilage. Again, the base of the larynx. And then the Adam's apple, the thyroid cartilage, you can tilt that and that gives you vibrato. So listen to this gradual adjustment that she's using. She's doing all of these things to adjust the volume and the timbre of her voice. And it's so elegant and smooth across the phrase. That's cool too. That's like a little like run that's a little bit outside of the key intentionally. It's really cool. Ooh. She, as powerful as her high notes are, she is so not afraid to get intimate, like right there. And respect to the musicians, background singers, as well as the instrumentalists are really, really, really good. She has good taste. She hires the best. But something keeps us hanging on. No. I now know what that bang is. So that's the snare. In '96, I don't think electric drums or like MIDI drums were probably as like good enough to get this sound. If you listen, there's a sound differentiation, right? One's louder or the tone differs, right? But something keeps us hanging. Right? So that's a real drummer hitting that snare. This is a very 80s aesthetic. What it is they put a lot of reverb on the snare and then gate it. So gate is just the thing that kills the sound, right? And it kills it after a certain amount of time. It's a very 80s aesthetic. What's interesting here, so she's doming her soft palate. So when she goes for this, the soft palate is very, very wide open. Right? That's very important when you want brighter sound. And so to contrast that, in this portion, she domes her soft palate. This is actually a very, very, very popular aesthetic right now. And it wasn't done as much in the 90s or even in the 2000s, but now it's like everywhere. Neo soul and other R&B and even gospel. So it's just very relaxed like this, right? And when you're doing it in speech, it sounds really weird. But when you're singing, I don't want to hold up, man, right? Samo does that. Beyonce does a lot. SZA. So this effect of just kind of like relaxing everything is very, very distinct and sounds very different than what we're hearing before that. Wow. Notice at how she shifts for the words heart and soul. There's that like cry, kind of crocky sound in the beginning of the notes. And then she separates her vocal folds a little bit to introduce that hiss, that little air sound. It's so vulnerable. And it's in dramatic contrast to the belt that came before it. Like boom, boom, boom. Hair on end. I wish I were hairier so you could see it. It's amazing. Slipping that growl in is actually really tricky. It's tough to do that when you're up that high. So what a growl is it's the false folds coming together. So the false folds are above the real folds, and they're much more durable. The vocal folds are just like tiny little pieces of flesh. The false folds are like cartilage surrounded by flesh, very durable. And so when you have a growl, what it is, it's like this rattle from the false folds, and it's very, very tricky. If you want to know, and please do this extremely gently, imagine yourself lifting and then sing as you're doing that. What you're going to have happen is that whenever you lift, cough, the false folds come together and the vocal folds close. And it's very, very tricky to get the folds oscillating, and you have to be so gentle. It will feel massively uncomfortable if you don't do it extremely gently. So it's kind of counter to what you would think, right? Like it's a heightened emotional statement to do a growl like that, but it actually has to be extremely, extremely, extremely gentle. Particularly that element of having a gentle exhale, having a gentle onset. It gets more difficult the higher you go, because higher notes take less air. Right? So this is like difficult for two reasons. One, growls are just hard to do gently enough. And then on top of that, she's not in like a super high part of her range, but it's not exactly her low end, right? Yes! The thyroid cartilage tilts, we get vibrato, we get a classic sound, okay? But, and this is going to blow your mind, you can tilt your thyroid cartilage, this is your classical, I'm an opera singer, right? You can do that, and you can tilt the cricoid cartilage, which is responsible for belting, and it ends up being the most dramatic sound you could possibly get as a singer. And this is what Wagnerian singers do, particularly the tenors. Not universally, but a lot of them. And it sounds so epic. That. And then she's going to take it up because she's not done yet. It takes a lot for this white boy to kind of, like move my hips and bump my head, And I just got to give it to the bass player. It's funky. Right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to move too much because I'm going to hurt myself if I do. Right? But I'm moving with it, which is, that's a good bass player right there. I want to point this out right here. Listen to, so we talked about that, kind of like really relaxed, thing as, SZA does, Simo does. But she's doing it in her high. And that's very specific, right? When we go up high and we sound bright, that's mostly how we do it. That's mostly how we go up high. If you want to kind of like get this really relaxed sound as you're ascending, you have to be very careful about using not too much air. And so, but listen to the effect of it. And it's the perfect way to kind of tie off this epic ending of the song to make it, gentle and fragile. And then she brightens on the bottom a little bit. And that kind of makes it sound like it's even because, she's not a lower voice. So she can't have a lot of power down there. But if you want to have like an even sound, it generally behooves higher voices to kind of be very bright on the bottom so that the scale sounds even. Because we received a complaint of a key detected.